Maciej Szymczyk, Nelson Ray, and Ben Rhodes-Kropf. Those three guys met at the university campus, and they came up with a brilliant idea about a startup that is about to revolutionize an American defense industry, an industry that was stagnant for decades, and now it's going to be changed in a totally dramatic way. So let's start with the basics. How did you guys meet?
So we met at a program at Berkeley. It's called MET, stands for Management Entrepreneurship Technology. They had Admit Day where they flew out the 50 people that are admitted. It was created by a guy named Michael Grimes. He took Google, Uber, and all these big companies public, and he recognized that if you offer a program that is a dual degree with business and engineering, you're going to get really good technical and business minds to build, the startups of the future. So we all got admitted, and that's where we met, was at this Admit Day.
Do you still remember that moment when you guys connected? Does it happen by chance? Did you gravitate towards each other?
Yeah.
Which pairing was
It
first?
was love at first sight. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had they split up in 10 groups of 5, and then we kept talking. We were in separate groups. They actually merged the groups.
Yeah, we actually, right there, we negotiated the groups to merge. We're like, hey, we're still talking. Can we continue this conversation? Did a little trade.
I think Ben and I talked about, right away about, human brain connectivity and neural networks, about, putting neural networks on the edge and, super technical stuff.
Yeah.
We, connected right away.
Yeah.
We knew that we were the most, AI, people who were most interested in AI at that event.
Because at the time I was at Han Lab, and then you had just finished studying the Human Brain ML project.
Yeah.
And man, we were just having we were going into way too much detail. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so the connection was there, but to become friends is one thing, but to start a business together is another one. How did that idea materialize?
So I charted an interesting path for myself to get to Berkeley. I took 2 gap years. First gap year was building an ed tech as a calendar for students. And then the second gap year was working at a defense manufacturer. So I brought this tech background to a sector that still runs off pieces of paper and archaic platforms built in the 90s, right? And we spend 4% of the US GDP in this sector, and it's still so inefficient. So it was working there that I recognized the problem. I built a solution there, spent a year building, basically an internal tool there, really streamlined their operations, and then, came to Berkeley with this idea, and then found 2 amazing technical co-founders to then push this forward.
So let's talk about the things that you actually do at Patriot. But I don't want you to talk about yourself. I want you to talk about your neighbor right there on the couch.
Yeah, sure. So just high level, we all do kind of everything, because we're all 3 of us are technical, which is incredible. So all of us can code, but at the same time, all of us talk to clients, do sales, come up with ideas for the product. But when we're actually, rolling boots on the ground, Nelson is the guy who just comes up with the craziest ideas, and then, you would have never thought about it, and then they actually come to fruition a week later. So
5%
Nelson's
of the time.
5%
Throwing tons of ideas out there.
Yeah, Nelson's a great idea guy who at the same time can execute on what he comes up with. So it's not just, high level thinking. It's actually great ideas and then pushing to get this done.
Yep. And just to reiterate, we really are a unified front. So when we're showing up to these manufacturers and it's 3 young guys with a bunch of passion and energy, their faces light up with the solution we're bringing to them. So it's really exciting. About Ben, Ben is leading the AI development that reasons over these PDFs. So what we're storing in their database is the capabilities of these manufacturers, what machines they have, what parts they can produce, their compliance and standards that they meet. And then of all the 5,000 contracts that release, Ben's AI is reasoning over it and say, okay, based on my understanding of the manufacturer, this is a good match or this is not a good match. And it really then helps streamline finding the best contracts for these manufacturers.
Yeah, sure. So Nelson is the big idea guy who just doesn't have limits on what he can come up with. So he will come up with the craziest, most bizarre idea, and then everyone will say, what are you talking about? But then we'll sit down and, well, that's actually a great idea. And then Nelson will not only come up with the idea, but he will also push forward to implement it and get it to our clients as soon as possible. So that is the most unique, valuable thing that is so hard to find.
So Ben, having done so much AI development in the company, he has become the artificial brain of the company. So literally what he has built is an artificial brain that is you can think of an AI employee that would I guess in the simulation would sit down at a manufacturer, understand all the processes and capabilities they have, and reason over the thousands of contracts to release every day from the DoD. So his AI understands, the machines they have, the parts they produce in the past, their certifications and compliance that they meet, and then the AI is able to look over all these thousands of 25-page each PDFs and find what the best contracts are or are not good matches. And it's like a salesperson at these manufacturers to help them capture revenue and develop into new product lines.
Ben, let's talk about Maciej.
Oh my goodness, so much to say. I think without Maciej, this company we'd be in the ground. I think Nelson and I are sometimes like high in the sky, and like Maciej he knows everything. He's on it at all times, like just very focused. Like I don't think we could even book a flight without him. So like he always knows what's happening. He understands like every day-to-day thing, and then he's also like phenomenal at executing. So just if there's ever any problems, like he's the first one to say, hey, here's how we can fix it. Have you thought about this? Like, or he'll even play devil's advocate. He'll like, even if he doesn't agree with something, he'll play that role just so that like, there's some opposing force so that we can like figure out what's actually happening in the company and figure out where to go from there.
So Maciej was born and raised in Poland. I think he brings something different. His background is somewhat different than yours. Yeah. What are some of the differences that you noticed about him being Polish?
There's like so many little funny things. Like I'm trying to think of like, okay, go ahead.
When he's walking, he stubs his toe in the corner of a room. He doesn't speak English.
He doesn't speak English when he stubs his toe. Every once in a while, he'll like find something new about America. He'll be like, "This is stupid. Why do they do it this way?" We'll be like walking down the street. He's like, "This makes no sense." So I think he sees a lot of like inefficiencies and stuff that Nelson and I wouldn't see just because we swim in the water. We grew up here, and so he always recognizes different things that like we would have never thought of. And I think it's really interesting, especially in the defense space, to sort of walk into someone's office and be like, "Sorry, where are you from?" It's like, "I'm from Poland." It's like, okay, now we're talking business. Like, what's going on here?
Honestly, did you know a lot about Poland before meeting Maciej?
No, not very much.
Not very much.
Now we know quite a bit.
Now we know a lot. I'm still bummed. We've got to visit at some point. We keep meaning to, and we'll find the time.
Awesome. So you're employee 1, 2, 3. Are you looking for new members of the team? And what qualities are you looking for in people that you want to be part of the company that you're building?
Yeah. I mean, I think a big part of what we've talked about internally, this is sort of something that we've had an ongoing conversation about, is like we're very young. And so we also recognize that like we're looking for that sort of similar age, if not like, because like we want people that are scrappy, are willing to sleep on the floor, are willing to roll in the mud, like are just willing to sit it out. And in some sense, like to us, that doesn't mean that you're an ex-Google engineer and, you're doing whatever and you're expecting a huge salary and to come in at, 8 a.m. and leave at 5 p.m. Like if you're with us, you're with us. And we're really looking for those kind of people that have a chip on their shoulder, that have something to prove, that are willing to, go the distance.
Yep. We're looking for more engineers. We want people who can write code and deliver value to, our customers and users. And then also, what we've quickly learned, we're really excelling with sales. We actually quickly learned that sales is helping people solve their problems, and who's better than that than engineers. So we're really looking for people that can do all that, the sales and the engineering.
Yeah. And I think one more thing that we are very much looking for is disagreeability coupled with intellectual honesty. What it means is that internally we disagree with each other all the time, and this is what drives us forward. If everyone just nods and agrees with each other, you basically become complacent and you stop moving forward. The people that we bring on, we want them to disagree with us. But at the same time, there's a difference between disagreeing and being stubborn. And once you realize that you are not correct, you have to have the intellectual honesty and like humility to say, I was wrong, I go back on what I said, let's go with your idea. And this applies to us as well.
Yeah, that's what people say. Fail often, fail fast, and learn from it. Yep. Did you make a lot of like bad decisions developing the company?
Oh, we make bad decisions all the time.
we make bad decisions every day. But yeah, it's really like I mean, we're very loud, we're very disagreeable, and that's something we really cherish. I mean, you just have to be willing to say, I totally disagree, we should go this way, and someone else is, no, we should go this way, and then like really like, okay, why? Let's figure it out, let's talk about it. Okay, you know what, you're so right, we should go that way. That's how we operate, and so we really want people that are willing to say, you know I'm not a co-founder, but I completely disagree. I think like you guys are thinking about this wrong.
It is impossible to build a company, to build a startup without money. You have to get financing. How easy is it right now to get funds, to get the company running?
So, to be perfectly honest, our fundraising journey, we didn't have any troubles with finding the capital. The problem is not the money itself, it's the people who you take it from. Sometimes taking money from the wrong investor can be a poison pill, and especially with how hot defense sector is right now in the Silicon Valley, a lot of funds, a lot of angel investors just want to go into defense at all costs. So finding money itself is not a problem. What we are looking for is institutional investors and angel investors who really want to be on this journey with us, whether it's going well or whether it's going bad. We have a period of stagnation, we don't know what to do, we need expertise. And that is when good investors actually prove their value. They give super valuable advice. They are well connected. They are able to sometimes disagree with you while at the same time respecting your autonomy. So this is the kind of investors that we're looking for, and we're super lucky to find people like that on our journey. So Ben, do you want to talk about who's supporting us right now?
Yeah. So sort of like Maciej alluded to, it's not just about the money. If anything, the money is the last thing that we're interested in. It's really their advice, their experience. They've seen hundreds of companies, especially in the Silicon Valley area. These angel investors and institutional investors have eyes in ways that no one else could, right? They're seeing all the companies every day. They're seeing the trends. And so to have people like that around you that are willing to disagree, that are willing to say, hey, have you thought about this, especially as young founders, is just phenomenal. So to have people like Mark Pincus, the founder of Zynga, or Steve Blank, founder of the Lean Startup Movement and Gordian Knot Institute, and even Rich Miner, co-founder of Android. Like all of these people have really excelled in their own ways at life, and then have also seen tons of startups, also know what it's like to be in a startup, to understand all of the different crazy stuff that's happening. And so to have them around us is really, that's what means the world. And then also they want to be invested in us. So that's sort of where the money comes into play, only in the sense that they're excited to be with us and like give us that vote of confidence.
You are extremely young, especially if we look at the industry that you operate with. The defense industry, at least in my opinion, is dominated by guys in their 60s, 70s. I don't know. You tell me. Do you feel that it's blocking you? Is it any kind of obstacle, that age gap that you have?
Some of them recognize that the youth are figuring out how to use the AI and automation to really speed up processes and create things more efficiently. At these manufacturers, like I said, it runs off pieces of papers and platforms built in the 90s. And they recognize that people will adopt AI sooner than others, and eventually AI is just gonna be inevitable. And some of these people are what Silicon Valley calls early adopters. They see the vision that we're creating really early, and they want to come on as a early first customer and really see this AI startup that we're building really propel their company in the future. It's literally going to take them from the 90s to 2025. It's going to be incredible. That's what we're seeing.
I think if anything, this is sort of how we initially approached the industry as well. We're thinking, oh man, we're young kids. What are we possibly going to do? And if anything, it's sort of become our big strength. I think they see, sort of as Nelson said, the next generation. They see in us what they saw in themselves when they were starting their companies. And so to be there smiling as a bright kid and say, hey, we want to help you. How can we help you? We're in this with you. I think they're very excited by that. And we also stand out. You walk into a defense company like this and who are those kids? I got to talk to them. Why are they here? And so it definitely is kind of a really big advantage.
You identified an inefficiency in an industry that operated in exactly the same way, this inefficient way for decades right now. If you could describe that inefficiency, what are you trying to improve?
Yeah, so the problem we're solving is the government makes it really hard for manufacturers to work with the government and fulfill these Department of Defense contracts, because the Department of Defense uses this application. It's called DIBS. It's this internet bid board system where every day they list anywhere from the 3,000 to 6,000 contracts that they released just that day. And each one is one where you click into it to download a PDF, wait for the thing to stop spinning, and then it downloads the PDF on your computer, and then you have to click into it to open it up, and then read all these pages to find out if it's a good contract, right? You can spend a lot of your time as a salesperson and manufacturer doom scrolling all these PDFs to find good opportunities. So what we do is a data aggregation play where once the Pentagon's done around midnight compiling all these thousands and thousands of PDFs, we download them all, and then we find the best matches on behalf of the manufacturer with an AI model that reasons over every single word in that PDF to find out if it's a good opportunity for them.
So essentially, you're going to level the playing field, and you will allow those small players, small companies to become players in those markets. Because I would assume that the old way of doing that gave huge edge to bigger companies, more experienced companies, companies with bigger resources. Is that also part of your mission?
100%. I think this is really, to what Nelson is speaking to, the larger dream, right? Where industry today is very much siloed in massive defense companies. And the question is, behind all of these large contracts, right, the F-35, these massive weapons platforms, are thousands of manufacturers and smaller contractors that are building the wheels, the gears, the sprockets, everything that plane is made of, right? And the goal is to really help them. And so in some sense, once we understand all of these manufacturing firms, we can categorize them, we understand what their capabilities are, we can match contracts to manufacturing firms in a way that no one has ever done before, right? And we can aggregate them, we can represent them. So maybe the US government needs 20 million screws. One manufacturing firm couldn't do that. But because we happen to know 10 manufacturing firms that do screws, we can help them get together and bid on it, right? And so once we can start representing a lot of manufacturing firms, we really see a way to start leveling the playing field and creating this new market.
So your platform will be learning, will be evolving. So how do you see SalesPatriot in 5, 10 years? What steps, what goals you want to achieve?
Sure. So in the long term, we want to be a ubiquitous, all-encompassing defense ecosystem for the manufacturers and all the players in the industry. Why is this important? We want to allow the players in the industry to reap the benefits of aggregation while retaining the small business backbone of American industry. So what happened in the 90s is a lot of those big players acquired tons of smaller firms, which led to the creation of basically 5 huge conglomerates that are controlling all of the big contracts in the American industry. Yet still, a lot of small businesses are powering those 5 big conglomerates. And we want to empower those small businesses to stay competitive, stay ahead of the curve, while opposing this huge aggregation trend, which we believe is not that beneficial in the long term.
An old Roman saying says, "Si vis pacem para bellum." You want to have peace, you get ready for war. I think what you're doing is very patriotic. And I think each one of you has a story that links you with the problem of war, with patriotism. Let's talk about that. Your individual stories that kind of contribute to your mission, your vision for SalesPatriot.
My grandfather and great-grandfather were both in the Air Force. It's always meant a lot to my family to be able to live in this country and to be able to get all of the incredible things that it offers, whether it's being able to raise money and pursue ideas as an entrepreneur, whether it's being able to go to school. Just all of that stuff is so incredible, and to be able to help defend that means a lot to me.
My grandfather was also in the Air Force, and my uncle was deployed in Iraq, I believe 3 times. So I come from a family of with a military background, and yeah, we are a very patriotic company, and we want to see the United States maintain a really strong military that is important. The American policy for the longest time has been peace through strength, and we want to push forward that legacy of policy. It is really manufacturing capacity that is really important for having a strong military. And that's what we want to make drastically more efficient with the latest AI coming out of San Francisco, where we went to school.
Yeah, and when it comes to me, my story is a bit different. So I didn't grow up in the States. I grew up in Poland, a country that has been invaded, occupied for hundreds of years. And I think it's deeply rooted in our identity, just awareness of this oppression. My great-grandfather fought in the September campaign in '39, and there's also a part of my family history. Even within my lifetime, our neighbors from Ukraine were invaded by a dictatorship that just doesn't have any respect for human rights, for the Geneva Convention, for anything other than just pure sheer strength. And having seen that, as a first-hand witness of all those people escaping Ukraine, having to leave their country, abandon their homes, and being aware that this can happen to Poland or any other country that is close to Russia, close to China, that gives me the strong conviction that maintaining a strong military is what needs to be done. And just staying realistic means acknowledging that the United States is basically a guarantor of peace in this very unstable world. And with my talents, with my abilities, I think that the best use of them is to contribute to the American industrial sector that empowers its allies.
Defense sector is heavily regulated. I think there's a lot of boxes that you have to check to operate there. Let's talk about those requirements and how are you handling those regulations, those criteria that you have to meet in order to be present there in that market.
So how we approach it is we make sure that we stay up to date with the latest cybersecurity technologies, with the latest standards, with the latest certifications. We make sure of all of that. What is happening in the industry right now is a new set of government requirements and regulations for the defense sector specifically, called CMMC, is making a sweeping change in the entire industry because those manufacturers simply don't know how to comply with those regulations and how to make sure that they're not breaking the law. So when we come in, we need to show up and say, hey, we're gonna make your life easier. We're not gonna be another thing that's gonna cause you some more headache. So how we address this is we actually do not touch any of the technical documents which are heavily controlled. We simply decided that it's better to operate on public information, to train our AI models on something that is publicly available. And it's been incredible to see that you can extract a lot of signal, a lot of information, a lot of insights from pieces of data which are publicly available. So we address that by simply staying away from everything that the government prescribes as controlled or classified.
So the defense industry is a huge one. It's a huge industry that everybody is looking to get into. At the same time, I think it's ripe for change. It's going to evolve really quickly now with the advent of AI. Do you guys feel that you are the vanguard of those companies, those inventors who will change it and shape it for the future?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's really something that we're very excited about, to see this much change happening in an industry that has been stagnant for 60 years, to see even small defense companies all the way to the large defense companies saying yes to AI aggressively. Yes, how do we do this? How do we move forward? How are we going to hit that next bar? And to stay defensible. I mean, the world's at a scary time right now. And so I think people both recognize we need the change, and the change is finally coming as well. So both of those things just have created this perfect wave for young startups to really excel in trying to deliver value to even large and old industries. It's
serious stuff that you're doing, but at the same time, you're having tremendous amount of fun. Am I correct?
You'd
be correct.
We certainly are. It's probably the most exciting, phenomenal adventure that each of us has ever been on. Just being able to work on something that we consider meaningful with two of your best friends, spending 16 waking hours every day just working and making it happen is probably the best thing engineer or entrepreneur could imagine.
And then, is it true? We hear all the stories from every single great legendary entrepreneur that the beginnings is work around the clock, total focus on what you do, setting your goals, meeting them, setting the new ones. How does your day normally look like? How much do you work, honestly?
Oh my goodness, nonstop. It's nonstop. Yeah, from the second you wake up, you're taking calls, answering emails, figuring out where you're going next. I mean, our schedule is just pure chaos. And it really is. It's like you said. It's just all out work. I mean, it's a race and it's a sprint, and you're constantly trying to move to get the next thing done. So, yeah, I think whether you're sleeping on the floor, don't know where you're going next, haven't showered in a few days, you just got to get it done.
Yeah, our days start with Ben waking up. We have this giant speaker at our apartment. We wake up 6 a.m. Ben turns on AC/DC. Full volume. We just get up immediately, and Ben is like, "Okay, another day. Let's get to work, boys." 6:30. We're already either coding or on calls with people. We're just pushing it forward.
Yeah. It's a team effort, and you have to keep your mind very steady when you're running at this speed, and so it's about making sure you have those moments of camaraderie. And, loud music in the mornings and yeah, let's go. Keep moving. We got this. I mean, it's the same way the SEALs operate. It's the same way anyone that's trying to do something really big in a short amount of time has to operate. You have to stay positive. You have to move through the mud. And the best way to do that is to just, laugh at every single thing that goes wrong. You're like, I don't know how we messed that up again. I mean, we'll have clients sometimes call us and say, the server's down. Oh my gosh, quick, guys, get to your computers, figure this out.
But does it feel like work, or you just have fun and work along with it? Yeah. What comes first?
I mean, it's certainly work, and most of the time you're doing things that most people wouldn't like to do. And if it was work for someone else, you would have hated it. What you enjoy is the fact that you're doing something that directly contributes to something that you care about, and that is what makes it fun. So it's not all super fun, interesting code or meetings with clients which you close immediately. Oftentimes it's a series of no's, it's a series of bugs in the code. It's a series of boring tasks that you have to somehow complete. It's reading through legal documents. But all this is simply meaningful and necessary, and you enjoy this because you know that you're working towards something great.
Yeah, we're tackling a big challenge, which is keeping American manufacturing capacity ahead with AI compared to the bad actors out there. It's not something we feel we want to do it, but it's more than that. We feel like we're obligated to do it. So it's very meaningful work that we're doing.
People say that in order to achieve any kind of success right now, you have to be obsessed with what you're doing. You have to have this total desire to be perfect in every single area that you're doing. Do you have that? Do you see that in you?
Yeah, I'd say it's we're constantly, it doesn't matter whether we're going to bed or waking up, we're talking about it. We're refining the ideas. We're refining where we should be moving, what we should be thinking about. And I think it's funny because a lot of people are you have to be obsessed and you have to be really obsessed about the right things, right? The famous 80-20 rule, right? When you're moving at this speed, sometimes you just got to get it done. You got to know that, hey, an extra 3 hours here is not worth your time, right? And so you have to be obsessed. You have to be constantly willing to make concessions, constantly willing to say, you know what, it's good enough. We need to move on and focus on the next most important thing. So I'd say there's this constant balance of you're obsessed. It needs to be perfect, and we don't have enough time. We need to move forward.
I bet you've met a lot of people that shaped you to who you are right now. I bet you're having wonderful mentors even right now. If you could name a few people that helped shape you and create you as you are right now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, at least, it was my high school computer science teacher, Mr. Hales. I don't know if you're watching this. But he was just a phenomenal mentor. He had this mentality of just come in, ask any question, be there, be present, be aggressive. If you want to do a different project, go do that different project. And just this beautiful mindset of just do what you want to do. Don't care about what other people are thinking, and just strive for greatness. And I mean, that to me, it taught me so much about how I tackle every single challenge, the kind of mentality I want to bring when we're dealing with difficulties and in the mud. So yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Hales.
This one's going to be my parents. They've given me a lot of support. I picked up software engineering when I was 16 years old, learning it myself, and they supported me on the path they charted for myself. After graduating high school, I decided to take 2 gap years working in the industry with the experience that I had taught myself how to code, and they supported that. And then they supported me going into Berkeley. I recognized that I really wanted to be tapped into a network of phenomenal technical talent and people, and that's how I met Maciej and Ben. So they supported me and the direction I wanted to take my life.
Maciej?
Yeah, for me it has been a few people who shaped, let's say, different parts of my personality. So just like Nelson, I really love my parents, and I think that without their support, it wouldn't have been possible. Outside of the home where I grew up in, I think there are basically three people I owe a lot to. So there is my high school physics teacher, Mr. Sławek Jagiełło, if you're watching this. Thank you. He basically gave me this ability and desire to strive for big problems and just take a shot at something that seems very far-fetched, almost impossible. And actually, when I texted him about me dropping out to pursue this company, he texted immediately, "I knew that you were gonna do this. I told your father that this was gonna happen." Another person was Professor Włodzimierz Świątek, who had this radical, almost irrational optimism and faith in me. He invited me to speak about AI at a university in Poland as a high school student, which was incredible. And finally, my Aikido coach from Poland, who basically taught me how to stay calm and confident in any situation. It's martial arts, so it's on one hand a lot of adrenaline, a lot of crazy things happening, but on the other hand, being the best at what you do comes from staying calm and calculated in any situation.
I think that you're all on the brink of becoming mentors. Do you have that somewhere in the back of your head, that at some point you will have some kind of responsibility of passing that to even younger people than you are? Do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, again, like one of the really great things Mr. Hales did for me was connect me to the older generations out that graduated high school and were in the workforce already, and saying, hey, talk to this kid, he's interested in this thing, right? And so it's always been sort of what I felt is like the greatest responsibility to be able to pass on that knowledge and be able to at least try to help. I mean, I frequently say, hey, you probably shouldn't listen to me. Don't take my advice. Here's what I might do, but good luck, Just because it's so hard. Every single situation is different, but certainly talking to kids in my high school when they ask for advice and trying to just say, hey, just do it, go for it, take that risk, go do that thing. It's like the greatest responsibility to have.
Yep, I think there's a model in San Francisco, which is like typically earlier in your career, you watch a big company being built, like you're part of that early team and you watch it grow, right? And then you build your own company, right? You're the one doing it, and then once after that success, you go around and you teach one. So with our mentors and the people who invested in us, like Rich Miner was one of my mentors. He's the co-founder of Android. Obviously, he did that model, and now it's just terrific that he's teaching us, and I'm gonna then pay it forward to the next generation once I've gone through that model, and that'll be exciting.
Yeah, I'm also super excited to just share my knowledge. Even now, I haven't been successful in entrepreneurship yet. I haven't built a big company yet, but just to be able to inspire people to, take a shot at getting into a school in the US, to, do something crazy. This is what is super thrilling to me, because it can give someone an idea that they never thought about. And right now, probably the mentee that I am most proud of is my younger brother, who just sometimes calls me randomly and we talk about his plans for the future, the things that he should be doing, the things that he's doing and I didn't even know about. And it's just incredible to watch someone who's smarter than me, also chart their own path to being successful.
You're at a very interesting moment in your life. First, you got admitted to the top universities there are in the world, UC Berkeley and MIT, and almost immediately you decide to drop out. Did the universities fulfill the role in your life, or do you think you're going to get back?
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll go back. Sort of depends on how this goes, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, I think in some sense, like, we were sort of always raised, and I think a common thread between all of us was like, there's two types of fun. There's type 1 fun, which is fun you have while you're doing it, and type 2 fun, which is not fun while you're doing it, but incredibly fun, like living in it and like experiencing it, right? Like type 1 fun might be like having some ice cream, and type 2 fun is like whitewater rafting or going for a long run, right? And so there's these kinds of funs, which who knows why we're interested in them, right? Like they don't make sense. But to us, like, we love type 2 fun. And so type 2 funding is about taking risks and making decisions that don't make sense, right? And so I think a lot of people probably look at us and think we're crazy, and we probably are. But you only get one life, and so you might as well live it.
Are the universities kind of platform that pretty much you wouldn't meet, you wouldn't get together, you wouldn't get connected without this university environment and without those mentors that kind of are pushing you and making you realize what potential do you have? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I would say being at Berkeley, that was probably a pretty, in terms of throughout my entire life, being at that high caliber of a school, that pool that I was in, it was probably the most talented, most ambitious driven pool of people I'll ever be surrounded with in my entire life in terms of mass quantity. So these schools really are a launch pad to build amazing companies. Tesla came out of Berkeley. A lot of Apple came out of Berkeley, Steve Wozniak. So Berkeley was a phenomenal launch pad for our company. There's no doubt about it.
And Maciej, especially for you, for a kid growing up in Poland, attending Berkeley is almost an impossibility. The chances are slim to none, and yet you were able to get there. Let's talk about the story that took you to Berkeley, and what was that experience?
Actually, the backstory of me getting into a school in the US is quite funny. In 8th grade, I was probably 13, 12 maybe. I just asked myself a question: what do I enjoy doing? And I realized I enjoy talking to smart people who are smarter than me. And then I asked myself, okay, how do you get to talk to a lot of smart people? And well, I did a bit of research on the internet, and the most common answer seemed to be go to a good school, and there are going to be a lot of smart people there, fellow students, professors, just mentors, people in the network. So I said, okay, now I'm going to make it my life's goal to get into a good school. And while doing that, you discover a lot of fun things, and you kind of forget about your goal of getting into a good school. You just start doing super interesting things, and eventually you end up with an offer from a school like Berkeley. Then Rafał Brzoska Foundation. I was lucky enough to have my studies paid for by the foundation. They supported me on this journey. They believed in my ability to make something happen in the US. So I arrived at Berkeley, and actually, first night, I end up talking to my new roommate, and he starts telling me about how America's procurement is way behind, and we start talking about applications of AI in that sector. And just literally first night, you hit the ground running with the craziest idea you can imagine.
And I think it's a dream come true, isn't it? I was about to ask you about your first day, your first memories, and look at that. You've already answered that, and look where it's taking you.
All three of us met in April, and that 3 days when we flew out to San Francisco to meet each other were incredible. I just saw all those talented people in one place, and I was like, okay, this is where I want to be at. And then, once you move to San Francisco, to Berkeley, you start living with those people. You start going to classes, going to parties with probably the smartest people in the world. This is when you actually, tap deeply into that network and just start extracting knowledge at every point in time, like in the dining hall, in the hallway, in class. You just absorb knowledge at immense pace, and then an idea emerges, and you start chasing it, and great things happen.
So much, you probably interacted with a lot of people back in Poland that are just as smart as you are, just as motivated, full of visions, full of ideas. Do you think that they will be capable? How much Poland has to offer to the world in terms of new ideas, new entrepreneurs, new people that are ready to break?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. And I think that Poland is a source of untapped talent. It's people who will acknowledge that early will actually have a huge edge over everyone else. The pool of technical talent in Poland is absolutely incredible. It's at least as good as the technical pool from top universities in the US, if not better. And I think this is Poland's, hidden gem that can accelerate our growth, our position internationally for the next 20, 30, 50 years. And just to give you an example from our company, we actually recently took on board a 15-year-old high school sophomore who's probably one of the most talented quickly learning developers we have ever seen. And he doesn't have any university experience. He hasn't worked at big companies. And yet, he's super talented, super smart. He learns at lightning speed. And we're super excited to have people like him working with us. And I think that the key to Poland's long-term success is leveraging that technical talent to create new things and take them from 0 to 1. Right now, we have already proven to international corporations that we can provide them with incredible talent. Google, Amazon, Facebook are all investing in Poland. What can actually bring Poland to the next level is empowering the highly technically skilled people there to start their own ventures, take risks, chase great, maybe audacious, irrational ideas, and make things happen. When you put together technical capability and just boldness and courage, great things can happen.
Does the magic happen only in Silicon Valley? Do you think that you would be able to achieve this kind of success anywhere in the world? Or you have to be in Silicon Valley to attract the interest from venture capitalists, from investors, to draw from the best minds? Is it still the center of the innovations in the world?
Probably it is still unmatched when it comes to, let's say, the ease of finding funds to pursue your startup, the ease of connecting with great minds and talented people. There is no doubt that Silicon Valley is the best at that. However, some of those things that are seemingly Silicon Valley specific can be extracted. So, for example, the mentality of chasing irrational, huge things. You can do that in Warsaw, in London, in Berlin as well, wherever you want. You just need to absorb that mentality. Another thing that I think a lot of other countries, other cities should absorb and learn is rewarding competence instead of credentials. And this is something that is painfully, obviously visible in San Francisco. Your credentials mean nothing if they are not backed by competence. So it's actually pretty awful for a lot of people who thought that their fancy diploma is gonna do anything for them. But it's great for people like us who just come and say, hey, we know how to do this. We have the experience in building cool things, and we can build another, even cooler thing. And San Francisco rewards that rather than age, credentials, degrees, power, connections. You get all of those things if you have competence. So this is the greatest thing about San Francisco.
For young entrepreneurs, for people who are watching us right now and thinking, am I good enough? Is my idea good enough? Will I be able to be strong enough to materialize what's growing in my brain right now? What words of advice would you have for those people?
A few things. One of the big ones we focus on here is that it's about input over output. So we take a lot of cold calls, and we get told no a lot, hundreds of no's a day. And it really hurts. If you've ever been told no before, you know it hurts, right? And so it's not about, okay, man, that hurt. It's, okay, that's another call down. 5 more no's and someone might say yes, right? And so that mentality of just being willing, every time you get knocked down or you get a no, it's like, how do you react to it? And so really saying, okay, every no is just an opportunity to learn more and really go find that yes. So that would really be the first thing. And then the other thing, I think Maciej alluded to it a little bit, would be just whatever you're thinking your life path is, that's not going to be it. So don't worry about it, really. Just think way bigger than whatever you're doing and try to get there. I think the best things I've ever done in life, whether it was driving across the country in a school bus instead of going to school or starting this company, I had no clue I was going to do it. I didn't know, and I just ran into it head on. And that's where the magic happens.
Building off what Ben said, building a startup is having a hypothesis. Our hypothesis is that AI in defense manufacturing is going to help streamline these companies and give them more of a competitive advantage and help fulfill the munition demands of the 21st century. So we have this hypothesis and we bring it to the market and we get told no and yes, and then we iterate from there. It's about iteration and it's about speed. So we structure our days. So when we wake up, to 1 p.m., we're doing cold calls or taking meetings with customers and we're like implementing with them. And then from 1 onwards, depending on what meetings we have or don't have, then we're coding. So it's this constant iteration cycle of talking to users, getting their feedback, and iterating the product. This is how you do it. And if you do it well, then you get to play this game for a long time and really do well.
Advice from me, especially to younger people, would be just start doing whatever. Just start doing the simplest things, but do. Don't plan for the future. Don't say what you will do. If you're 14, you want to build a startup, open a code editor, write first line of code. Open a course online on YouTube, how to code the simplest app. Think about your daily task that you're doing every day and that you hate, and automate it with software. If you're interested in building physical things, order an Arduino online, order a bunch of plastic parts, go to, I don't know, a local university where they for sure have 3D printers and ask for access and start building things. Build a small figure that you're gonna put on your desks. Build an automated plant watering system. Build anything that is physical, that actually is useful, and that is what pushes you forward. And you'll be surprised how soon you will be building the craziest things. So just start doing.
How do you guys think that SalesPatriot will change the world? It definitely has the potential to do a lot of good things. What those good things will be?
For America to continue playing on the world stage, we need to reindustrialize. So through automation, through AI, we can bring a lot more business to these manufacturers. And we really see that as how we're going to improve America.
We're going to give a level playing field to the small businesses. You know, the big boys have this, but the small businesses desperately need it. We're talking about the family-owned, small businesses. Their machine shop. They're taking parts into machines and then cutting and then taking it out and then they're shipping out the door. And then at the end of the workday, they have families to feed. So we're going to give them a level playing field.
Yeah, and internationally, still the world largely relies on American manufacturing, and it's super important that we are able to provide enough resources for our allies to be able to stay strong and stay resilient, and for Ukraine to be able to fight against Russia, for our other allies to be able to sustain and preserve their readiness. And American manufacturing is absolutely crucial for that.
So you mentioned that Poland has a huge potential, but how do you think that potential can be used in different areas? Obviously, entrepreneurship and technology is your foreground. How do you see the role that Poland may play in this new world coming up with the advent of AI?
So many different ways. I mean, one of the major ones is just the mathematical ability coming out of Poland. I mean, Wojciech Tręba is just like one example of so many other people that are using their mathematical abilities to make a phenomenal impact on the world stage, whether that's directly impacting AI or starting startups of their own.
Maciej is from Poland. I had the pleasure of rooming with him, and now he's going to be the co-founder of one of the most impactful next-gen defense tech startups as leading the AI development. So there's going to be a lot more Maciejs that come out of Poland. It's going to be exciting to see them study at American universities and do repeat success that Maciej did, or they're going to create their own companies in Poland. So I think Poland has a really exciting future ahead of them.
So I think if we manage to preserve our high level of technical education in Poland, and we just have more entrepreneurs who empower another generation of startup founders to push forward with that innovation, that is the best thing that can happen to Poland, because we will be the powerhouse of innovation on the map of Europe and the world for the next decades.
Do you think that Poles already have the mindset of entrepreneurs? That's something that Poland had to learn very fast after the fall of communism. Are we there yet?
We are very resourceful, undoubtedly, so we can find solutions to problems very fast. I think what we need to learn is the big vision, just thinking beyond solving the next small problem and thinking, how do we attack the European market? How do we expand internationally? What problem remains unsolved and affects millions of people? This is something that we need to learn, and once we do that, the future is really bright.
So the age does not matter. The amount of money that you bring to the table does not matter. What truly matters is what you can do, are your skills and your ideas. And our three guests, Nelson Ray, Maciej Szymczyk, and Ben Rhodes-Kropf, are real life example of that. They were able to overcome so many difficulties, so many obstacles, and they are on the brink of revolutionizing what appeared to be unmovable for decades. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you did.